Guide dogs are special in the way that they're trained to have intelligent disobedience. So it's where if you asked a dog to do a command, they would probably do it because that's what they're trained to do. With guide dogs, we actually train them to not do certain commands if it is unsafe. So if the client were to indicate for the dog to move forward and there was something there that was dangerous, the dog can refuse to do that. And so that is a special part of guide dogs, that they have to have the temperament to be very obedient, but also disobedient.
Yeah, to say, no, I'm not going to do that because it's dangerous for you.
Correct.
Welcome to the Possum Companion, where pets are part of our family. I'm your host, Joanna Herrera, the founder of Coco and Bondi. I'm very excited to interview experts and pet owners to share their stories and insights so you can use them to take care of your babies. Hello, Daisy. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you. Who you brought today to the studio?
Yes, I've got Maxie. Maxie's our demonstration dog that we use. He does a lot of PR and he's 7 years old and he's a Labrador.
Okay. So how long have you been with Maxie?
Maxie. I've known Maxie since he was a puppy, but he went to work as a guide dog and then had an early retirement. And so we have taken the opportunity to have him with us as our PR demo dog. And he does a lot of good for our clients. And they come on to look at getting a guide dog, and he shows them a little bit about what it is like to have a guide dog. So he can go and stay with people, or he does walks with his harness on so that people can experience what a guide dog does.
Amazing. So do you have any dogs on your own?
I do. I have a pet dog. She's a greyhound and her name is Pia. And I actually fostered her from the greyhound adoption program and then I kept her. Yeah.
And how old is she?
She's 6.
So you have had her since...
I was lucky. I got her when she was young. I've had her since she was 2 years old. So I've had her 4 years. Yes.
Amazing.
She's beautiful. Yeah.
Any other pets?
No, I had a Labrador, but he passed in May. So I've only got her at the moment. But I'll probably get another Labrador because I love them.
So normally what you do in your free time with your dog? Because I know that probably you are with dogs every day, every single time.
Yes, but I love her. With Pia, yeah, she loves to walk. She's a real, or they say greyhounds are lazy, but she's not. So we do go for our long walks. She can't go off leash, unfortunately, just because of their training, but she enjoys being on the leash, and yeah, she loves going on any walk. We've got quite a nice gorge area around where I live, so she loves to sniff everything and yeah, look at the rabbits and all sorts. So
and probably you use your training tactics with her as well.
She's a fabulous dog, actually. She hasn't needed a lot of training. A little bit when I got her, she wasn't used to being in a house, so she needed a bit of training with toileting and stuff, but other than that, she's very, very good.
Or probably you are doing it unconsciously.
You're probably right. Probably right. Because she is a beautiful dog and she's very, very easy. So, yeah. But I'm a bit biased, I think. So she's lovely.
So tell me a little bit of what you do.
Yes.
At the See Differently?
Yes.
Blind dogs.
Yes. So I started when I finished uni. It was about 12 years ago, almost 13 years. And I got a job as a puppy education supervisor. So
what is your degree, sorry?
My degree is animal science.
Okay.
So it's a Bachelor of Science with animal science. Yeah. So I had a talk at uni about guide dogs and I just thought it was like the best possible job. So I actually volunteered and got my Labrador, the one that just recently passed away. I raised him it used to be called the Royal Society for the Blind. We've rebranded and we're now called See Differently. And I had him and then a job came up and I took the opportunity and learned about puppies and breeding and all of the young dog stuff.
Yeah.
And then I was lucky to train and become a cadet guide dog instructor. It's about a 3-year training course to do it. So you learn how to train the dogs, but also how to train people with vision loss, which is actually a really complex thing to do. And you've got to learn a lot of around that. And I've been working as a guide dog mobility instructor. That's the title of the job, which is training the dogs to guide and then training the actual handler how to use the guide dog as a mobility aid. So that's a whole training course for them as well. And I've been doing that for the last 8 years. And I'm also the lead of the guide dog department. So I manage a little bit of the day-to-day, how we train dogs and all that sort of stuff at the moment. So that's been the last couple of years as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what are sort of the things that you like teach to dogs?
Yes.
For them to be able to, like be with someone that is blind
Yeah.
or have a disability, right?
Yes, yeah. There's lots of training. Obviously, there's the guiding component of actually how to go around obstacles, how to locate steps and those things. But there's also all those like day-to-day things that we need the dog to be able to do in order not to endanger their handler. So things like what Maxie is doing right now, where he's lying down quietly, he's able to be in social environments without being worried, and they do a lot of that in the puppy program. So we actually call our volunteers puppy educators, and they spend those first 12 months of the dog's life, from 8 weeks to 12 months, 14, 16 months, depends on the day they come into training, to teach them how to be in the world. And, if you think about, pet dogs, they don't go into shops, they don't go on travelators, they don't go in elevators, they don't have to be in crowds, those sorts of things, whereas our guide dogs have to be in whatever environment their handler goes to. And so a mobility aid is exactly the same as if you think of a wheelchair. It's exactly the same thing. So the dog is providing mobility for that person by guiding them around. And so they have to access any public place.
And any public place should have like the possibility of people to access with them, right?
Absolutely. So we're lucky that we've got laws around this. And so there's discrimination laws that allow our handlers to be able to take their dog to any public place that they wish to. There is restrictions such as the zoo, although we're lucky that we actually have just started. This only happened last year, with our dogs being able to access certain parts of the zoo. So they actually can go to Adelaide Zoo, but for example, Monarto, they can't. And also some hospital areas, obviously for hygiene and things like that. So there are a few exceptions. But other than that, our dogs can go into any public place.
Which is great.
Yes. And necessary.
Unnecessary.
Yeah.
And what are, like, how long does it take for you guys to train a dog and then hand that dog to someone else?
Yeah. So we generally say the dog's about 2 by the time they go out to work. So they spend their first, like I said, 14 months or so learning about, being sociable and being out in the environment. And then they come into what we call formal training. And that takes about 20 weeks for us to train the dog from a puppy, or puppyhood into actual adulthood and a guide dog.
And the first time that I hear that word, puppyhood.
I might have made it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in this case, like when someone take the dog, you will go to their homes with the dog and train the person that is going to have the dog to be able to,
to use the dog. Yeah. So with our guide dog handlers, there's quite a process. So you apply for your guide dog and you go through a whole assessment process. And we're actually funded by the NDIS. So we go through the National Disability Insurance Scheme and get approval for the funding. And then once the person has been approved and everything's there, we actually spend some time looking for the right dog for them. So we look for the dog that can do the workload, that can live in their lifestyle and do all the things that handler wants to do. So that could be, going to work each day, or maybe they work somewhere a little bit more unusual where the dog has to sort of be in an environment that's, not maybe your day-to-day office, or maybe they go to the pool and swim, or they might, be a musician. We don't know, whatever it might be. And so once the dog has actually been paired with that person, we spend time as the instructor training that dog to, access similar areas. And then when the day finally comes, we actually bring the dog to the client and start the training course
with the client,
which takes about 3 weeks.
And what are the sort of things that you teach the people?
So the dog has already been trained, and the handler already has an understanding of how to mobilize without their vision. And it is a common misconception that people that have a guide dog are completely blind, but that's actually not the case. Most people can see something. So it might just be light and dark, or it might be shadows, or it might be like a pinhole vision. And so most of our handlers have a little bit of vision, but there has to be what is considered to be legally blind, which is a terminology to describe the level of low vision. And so the component of the team already has a skill set. And what we're trying to do during the training course is actually unify it and then get the handler to speak the language the dog knows. So we talk about cues, and if, for example, you said to the dog, lie down, they might not understand that you're actually wanting them to go into a down position. So it's about speaking the right terminology, and we are doing only reward-based training. And so we want the handler to reinforce behaviors in, using positive reinforcement, whether it is with food or with their voice. So we teach also the handler on how does the dog think? How do they perceive the environment? For example, dogs can smell much, much better than we can. And so they perceive the environment through their sense of smell. And so if your dog's a little bit distracted because there's lots of smells in the environment, how do you deal with that? Because we always say, although they're a guide dog, they're a dog first and a guide dog second. And they have dog behaviors that we have to manage. Of course, we pick dogs that can handle
that sort of things.
Correct.
Or probably they get used to that environment where they have to control themselves to
complete. And that's the training that we do to make sure that the dog can actually work in those environments and cope with the stimulus of the environment.
Have you ever trained a dog and you are like, no, he's not?
Yes.
He cannot be a guide dog.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're quite lucky. We've got a pretty good success rate. But yeah, certainly there are times when the dog is just not able to cope with the request that we are. And we are asking this dog to do a lot of things, like they can't sniff, they can't pick up things, they can't chase things. They have to walk at the same speed in a straight line. If you've got a pet dog or you walked a dog, they tend to want to wander around and sniff and pull you. Well, guide dogs can't do any of those things. No. And they also have to be aware if there's a step, if there's a tree branch in front of you, if there's something that's going to bang your shoulder. So there's all of those things happening. And this is why we ask the public to not interact with our guide dogs, because we want them to focus and be able to concentrate on their work. Yeah. And if you've ever interacted with a Labrador, you know that they love to be patted and talked to. And so we want... That's
one thing that I wanted to ask you is, I know that there are dogs, but obviously when they have the harnesses on, they're working.
Yes.
So what are the things that you want to tell people to understand about guide dogs when they are working?
Yes.
And what are the things that they should keep on mind before they start patting or doing?
Yes, yeah. So there is lots of different assistance dogs in the environment now. So I am specifically talking about guide dogs today, and there are other types of assistance animals that can be patted, and the advice is always you should ask the handler what is appropriate for that particular dog. With guide dogs, we do ask that if the dog is wearing their harness, then people do not pat that dog. And we specifically talk a lot about patting, but we do mean interacting. So saying to the dog how cute they are, or talking to the dog, or giving the dog food, or lots of little loud noises, what a cute doggy. It's not helpful, because the dog is then taken away from the focus of their work. And then instead of guiding their person, they may, bump him into something or forget to stop at a step, and that person's going to actually get hurt. And so what we're asking people is not to interact with the dog and to interact with the handler. So same thing, if a person comes up with a guide dog, is not to talk to their dog, but talk to the person that is actually handling the dog.
Yeah.
And it really helps a lot. You can see Maxie now, he's nice and relaxed. He's not worried about the people in the room. He can just rest and do his job. And the other common thing that we find is when dogs are in this circumstance where they are relaxing next to the handler, that the people think, oh, well, I can pat them now, they're not working. But Maxie is still having to control himself to be calm and relax in this environment, which may be stimulating. Like if you were in a food court or in a coffee shop, the dog may still be quite stimulated by that environment, and they are having to sort of keep themselves calm. And so they are still working even though they are at rest.
Yeah, and some of the comments that I heard is that sometimes when they're working and someone touch them or talk to them, they start getting stressed because they have a lot of pressure. I'm working, this person is talking to me, I'm getting distracted, all of those
I'm not
things.
supposed to be doing this. So
they get actually stressed, the dog, because it's like, what should I do,
Yeah. And I think obviously, a lot of the conversations around dogs is humanizing them and talking about them like they were people. They have a slightly different thought process than what us humans have. But certainly also it may mean that the handler has to interact with their dog in a negative way. So for example, if the dog starts getting up and getting excited, then the handler might have to say, hey, sit, leave it, and actually interact negatively with their dog because of the way that they're being approached by the public. And so you are, in a way, you are making that experience quite detrimental to the dog. Whereas if people ignored the dog, then there wouldn't be any need for it. The dog could just be calm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And in saying that, I do want to acknowledge that most people are really wonderful, and particularly we're finding children are great because we're having a lot of education in schools and a lot, and guide dogs are part of life, whereas maybe 50 years ago it wasn't such a common thing. So there's a lot of people that are very wonderful about it, but it's that small percentage that makes it challenging for our handlers when they are out in the environment and they're having to continuously say, please don't touch my dog.
Yeah. And it's not something rude, it's just that the dog is working.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. And when they're home, that's a big thing. People think that guide dogs sort of live in their harness and they're never allowed to interact. But when they're home, they are, like most dogs, they interact with their family members, they play, they have lots of toys. They're very spoiled and very loved, because you can imagine how much people love their pet dog. And if on top of that, that dog also meant your independence and freedom, how much you would be connected with that dog. And the partnership between a guide dog handler and their guide dog is unique, and it's something that is special to that niche group of people, and it's something that is just their own, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So in regards to those people that are handling those type of dogs, is there anything in particular that you mentioned to them that they have to keep in mind when they go out or where they interact with other people as well, that they have to keep in mind?
Yeah, we do talk to them when we're training about how to, politely ask people and discuss if it is an issue, how to discuss that. In Australia, we're quite lucky that dogs are fairly welcomed most places, but we do sometimes have access issues, and so they have to advocate for themselves around access and inclusion. And, if someone does say, no, you can't come in with your dog, what do you do?
Yeah.
The training focuses a lot around commands and instructions, and there's a whole routine that we show the clients on the different commands that we use for our guide dogs, which are unique to them. And guide dogs are special in the way that they're trained to have intelligent disobedience. So it's where if you ask the dog to do a command, they would probably do it because that's what they're trained to do. With guide dogs, we actually train them to not do certain commands if it is unsafe. So if the client were to indicate for the dog to move forward and there was something there that was dangerous, the dog can refuse to do that. And
Amazing.
So that is a special part of guide dogs, that they have to have the temperament to be very obedient, but also disobedient.
Yeah, to say, no, I'm not going to do that because it's dangerous for you.
Correct.
Absolutely. So all the guide dogs are Labradors?
We do mostly use Labradors. We also have Golden Retrievers and a cross of the two, a Labrador Golden Retriever.
So why Labradors and Golden?
In other schools though, around the world, they do use other dogs, but that's what we mostly use here. They use like Shepherds and Poodles and Labradoodles and lots of different breeds. But here in Adelaide at the moment, that's the main breed. We use Labradors for lots of reasons. They are a right size, so they're a good size for a guide dog. And they also have a variety of sizes. They can be as small as 25 kilos and as big as 40 kilos.
Yeah.
They are very well perceived. People do like Labradors. They don't find them threatening, which is helpful. And they have the right temperament. They're sort of eager to please. They like food. That's probably the one detriment to them, is they like food a little bit too much sometimes. But they want to learn. They're eager. They're quite confident. When most of them are quite confident. Obviously, we get more sensitive types, but they have the confidence to do the work. Yeah, so they've got the right mix of temperament and the right physique as well.
So how heavy is
Maxie? I think he's about 34 kilos. So he's a little bit of a bigger dog.
Yeah, he's tall.
Yeah, he's very tall. Yes, yeah. But we have some that are quite small, and sometimes the smaller ones can be a little bit stockier. So the original British Labrador is quite a bulky type of dog. Whereas Maxie here is sort of tall and lean. So it depends. They come in lots of different physiques.
Yeah. So are you always looking for Labradors? For the business, or?
We breed our own. So we do have guiding lines that we breed from. So we breed from specific dogs that have proven their work as a guide dog. And this is something internationally all guide dog schools do. So we were lucky enough when we started, we were assisted with some dogs, and we've sort of gone from there. So we've been breeding our own dogs for over 10 years.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So after 2 years old, you start training them to become...
Yes, but we do have a sister
Guide
program
dogs.
called Operation Canine. So we don't only train guide dogs, we also have dogs for veterans with PTSD, as well as we do some autism-assisted therapy as well. So we do have other avenues as well for our dogs.
Okay, so in this case, you go and train the people's dogs as well?
Yeah,
Is
so
that
not
the case?
myself. My speciality is guide dogs, but we do have assistance dog trainers that
okay.
train dogs for us as an assistance dog for
Yeah.
PTSD.
Great.
Yeah.
So you talked at the beginning of the episode about retirement.
Yes.
So how long does it take for a dog to get retired?
So we do have a retirement age of 10.
Okay.
We have implemented that as a retirement age in the 10th year. By 10 years old, you know, if you use the dog to human years, it's about 7 years for every dog year. So it's about 70 by the time they're 10. So we feel that is a nice age for the dog to be able to rest and have a couple of years of happy life. That not that working is not happy, but it's just it is a pressure. It's just us as humans. You want to get to a point where you can retire and have a bit of time off. That's right.
Absolutely.
So they do work for about 8 years, from 2 till 10. That's on average. And it depends on the dog. And then when they retire, they always get a good home. People worry about them, but we've never had a problem with finding homes for them. They mostly remain either with their handler or with family and friends of the handler.
Okay.
And sometimes we have had a few recently that have gone back to their volunteer, the people that had them when they were puppies, which is very sweet. And sometimes as well, we have members of the public that will take them on. And most of the time we've been very lucky that they will still have contact with the handler and meet up and visit and sort of keep up the rapport and relationship even after retirement. Yeah.
So in this case, like when they get retired and everything, you give them to other people, right?
Or sometimes they'll stay with the handler. Yeah,
Okay.
Sometimes the handler will keep them.
And they always, when they go to a particular person to be with them, they're always young, or they can be older when they go to a home?
When they retire?
No, before when you hand a dog to a person that needs a guide dog, they're always 2 years old, or they can be older?
Oh, sometimes they can be. It does happen that sometimes like a guide dog might come back for whatever reason. Maybe the handler was unwell, or, didn't work out for whatever reason, and we might have an older dog. But generally they're under 5. If they're older than 5, we wouldn't normally put them out to work, because it does decrease the amount of time of the partnership, and it can be very traumatic to retire your dog. And so we feel that generally about 5 years old is the right time, but there's no rule for that. It's just depending on the circumstances.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Generally they'll go out at 2 years old, and most handlers want their dogs to be young so they get a good amount of time to work the dog, because even 8 years is very short, to have to retire, and retirement is a very traumatic time.
Yeah. And for the dog as well, because they have to leave the owners.
Absolutely. Look, the good thing is, one of the beauties of Labradors is that they are fairly good at moving on. I know that handlers, sometimes it's incredible how well they do, considering they've lived in the same home for 8 years. They can be quite good at moving on and loving someone else. They have a lot of love, Labradors.
Yeah.
So they'll see, for example, we have this beautiful graduation ceremony once a year where we celebrate all of the teams that we have, trained over the year.
Yeah.
And in the room, there will be the people that had them when they were puppies with their mother, and the people that volunteered that they maybe have not seen for years, maybe 2 years. And the moment that they see them, they still remember how much they love them. So they can love their people that had them when they were puppies in the nest, the volunteers, their handler, and then in future life, they will also love someone else. Yeah.
But normally people that are the handler, can they take the dog after they retire?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and most of them will.
But if they still need a guide dog,
they sometimes will have both. Yes. It depends on their particular circumstances. So once a dog retires, it becomes the responsibility of the handler, whoever that is, of the new owner. And so it depends, financially, is that possible? Do they have the right environment for the dog? So for example, if the handler gets a new guide dog and they're going to be going to work for 8 hours a day, it is not feasible to leave the retired dog at home for that amount of time. They're just not used to that.
Yeah.
So in that case, that's when we'll normally find another home. And it's very hard. The handlers are generally very selfless, and they will do what's best for their dog. So if they go, I would love to keep Maxie, but I can't because I can't look after him to the level that he deserves.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I'm going to let him go. And generally it will be someone they know, like a family or friend, or it will be, a volunteer or a member of the public. But they'll try and keep that contact up. And the Labradors do great. Like the dogs do great. They, as long as they've got love and a warm bed and food, they tend to really, do quite well and thrive.
Yeah, I reckon it's like probably the retirement of stop seeing the person that has been with them for 8 years.
Yes, I know.
Something that is probably
it's a very unique set of circumstances. And look, we've also had people that have their old dog and their new dog, and that can be a lovely partnership as well. And the old dog gets a bit of a new lease of life with the younger, sort of more exciting, exuberant dog. But it can be a little bit of a challenge because when the handler gets their harness out to go for a walk, the old dog says, oh, here I am, I'll put my harness on. But they're sort of at
You're
that
not
age.
working anymore.
Yeah, and they just want to go to the bus stop and back. They're like, okay, that's enough for me. I'm tired. so yeah, it's a challenging, interesting time for them.
So I have a question for you. What is the thing that you love the most of your work?
Yeah, I actually started because I love the dogs so much, but I think what's kept me here has been, just seeing the good that they do, but the handlers, and how wonderful it is to see them thrive with their dog and the difference a guide dog makes to their life. And that's a fantastic part of the job and something that is very special, and you do feel like you are helping people, which is a lovely thing to have in your job. And on top of that as well, I'm out and about every day. I don't have to sit behind the desk, and that's really quite good. And I get to hang out with these guys every day. So
you normally you have to go to different houses to keep training the handlers?
Yeah, so when you're doing dog training, you would tend to get your dogs and take them out. You normally have multiple dogs, so you'll take a few dogs out training, and you'll go to different locations and do different tasks. So it will be going on the bus, or it might be go to the city, or it might just be do a walk around the block and make sure the dog is able to work and guide around dogs and smells and stop at ramps and curbs and all that sort of stuff. And that's the sort of training component of it. And then we have our handlers and, the ongoing care that we provide. So we do the client training, but then after that, we also keep up with all of our handlers, and we see them at least once a year. But in the first year that they have their dog, we see them quite a few times to keep up the training and make sure that they are safe and that they have everything they need. And so it's a great thing for the handlers. If they've got any problems with their dog, they know that you're at the end of the phone and they can call you up and say, oh, I don't know why, but we're having this little issue here, and we'll go out and help them fix it.
And sometimes it's about, the support that the dog does to the person, but also the happiness and joy that a dog brings to their lives.
Yeah.
You make it a significant change. And
it does. And, although the dogs are there to help with guiding, there's no denying that they also help with mental health, and they help people feel more confident. And so there is an element of the dog that just makes you want to go out for a walk, which is such a powerful thing. Whereas, the long cane, which is what they generally will mobilize with, you can get out and you're safe and you can keep yourself safe with that most of the time. But with the dog, you want to go out, you want to go and do stuff, and you feel like you've got someone there that's
your friend as
well. That's your friend, and we do. We talk about them being a partnership, because you're out there together. And if things go well, you celebrate together. And if things don't go so well, then you're there for each other, and that's really what the dog does for them. And it's, I think, one of those, it's not what the dog is there for, but it provides that extra thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And dogs are very good at feeling, their owners.
Yeah, absolutely. They're so emotionally connected. 100%. Yes. And I think that's a very underrated part of the guide dog. We talk a lot about what they do, how they guide, and that's fantastic, and they're so good at it. But I think one of the most beautiful parts of the partnership is the emotional connection and the support, and they keep their handlers motivated to get out and do stuff, which can be hard.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's very important.
Yeah, it is. It's super important. Yes.
Thank you, Daisy, for being here
No
at
worries.
the Possum
Thanks for having
Companion
me.
episode and for sharing all your insights. So if people want to know more about like your business or what you do, how they can contact See Differently?
Yes, we have our website. You can just Google us, See Differently. And we also have our Instagram account and Facebook as well.
So in there, if someone is looking for a guide dog, or if they don't know or they are not sure if they need one.
Yes. Yeah, they
People-
can absolutely contact us. Yeah, all the contact information is on our website, and there is also a contact form. And they can, if they're not sure, absolutely welcome to call. See Differently also offers a range of services, not just guide dogs. So with anyone that is going through losing their vision, and it doesn't have to be total blindness, it can just be anything you need to just help with vision loss. We do it See Differently. So we have an office and in the studio in the city on Peary Street, and it has all the different equipment that we have, as well as support that we can provide with lots of different things like technology, employment, using your long cane, how do I navigate the world when I can't see so well. We have counsellors, so there's lots of services that they can receive from See Differently for any vision loss.
Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Possum Companion. If you have any further questions for our experts, feel free to leave them in the show notes or reach out to me directly. And if you are a pet expert who would love to contribute to this podcast, we will be thrilled to hear from you. Don't forget to follow us, and if you enjoyed today's episode, we will really appreciate a 5-star review. Thanks again, and we will see you at the next episode.